And now over the next half hour, we take a look at stories from India and across the globe. After waiting for days amid heavy monsoon showers, Thailand is finally holding the cremation ceremony for late Thai king Bhumibol Adulyadej. Mourners have lined up around the funeral site of the late king. The 5-day funeral process began on Wednesday with a merit-making ceremony inside the Grand Palace, where the monarch's body has laid since his death a year ago. Kenya is set to hold a controversial repeat presidential election today as planned. Amid reports of unrest, President Uhuru Kenyatta has urged Kenyans to vote and remain peaceful. Meanwhile, opposition candidate Raila Odinga has called on his supporters to join him in boycotting the election, saying he would lead a campaign of civil disobedience. As the war of words between North Korea and the United States shows no sign of slowing down, Pyongyang has come up with another warning. North Korea has warned that their threat of staging an atmospheric nuclear test above the Pacific Ocean should be taken literally. The Catalan Parliament is preparing for a crucial debate today on Article 155 and the prospect of independence from Spain. Prime Minister Mariano Rajoy's government has threatened to implement measures to take direct control of the region on Friday if Catalan leader Carles Puigdemont does not back down from his demands for independence. Hundreds of demonstrators gathered outside the headquarters of the government of Catalonia on Wednesday to show support for the possibility of Puigdemont declaring independence and protest against the imposition of Article 155 by Madrid. The protest, organized by education activists, rallied against interference from the Spanish government in the Catalan education system. They said the application of Article 155 was an embarrassment and would politicize education. The hashtag #MeToo movement has reached the European Parliament on Wednesday. This when several members spoke about their experiences with sexual harassment during a debate over ways to combat the abuse of women. The open discussion of sexual harassment spread to Europe last week after allegations against popular names like Harvey Weinstein and Bill O'Reilly. Under global scrutiny over its alleged ill treatment of migrant laborers, Qatar is set to introduce minimum wage for workers. Qatar News Agency announced on Wednesday that the gas-rich emirate has signed bilateral agreements with 36 countries to provide legal protection for workers. The announcement came on the eve of an international labor organization meeting. Five global airlines are going to begin new security screenings procedures for all passengers traveling to the United States. Long-haul carriers Air France, Cathay Pacific, Egypt Air, Emirates, and Lufthansa will start the screenings beginning today. The airlines offered different descriptions of how the interviews would take place. The National Association for the Advancement of Colored People has warned African American travelers to be careful when they fly with American Airlines. In an advisory, the organization said that it has noticed a pattern of disturbing incidents reported by Black American passengers specific to U.S.-bound airlines. A little over 7 months to go into the 2018 World Cup in Russia, ISIS has issued a warning to the event. The terror group has released an image of Lionel Messi crying blood on social media. The chilling poster of Messi is being used in a campaign of terror by ISIS supporters to threaten next year's FIFA World Cup. And new data from the World Travel and Tourism Council reveals that the world's top 10 fastest growing tourism cities are all in Asia, out of which the top 5 are in China. According to the report, Chongqing is the fastest growing city for tourism in the world, with a growth rate of 14% per year. The study looks at the contribution of travel and tourism to the economy and job creation in 65 cities around the world. Ukrainian lawmaker Ihor Mosoichuk was saved by whiskers in an assassination attempt. His bodyguard was killed in the explosion. Mosoichuk has been hospitalized but has not suffered any injuries. 2 others were also injured. The politician was targeted while leaving the premises of the Ukrainian Espresso TV channel. The U.S. Coast Guard in September and October has confiscated more than 2,500 kilograms of cocaine in an anti-narcotic trafficking operation in the eastern Pacific Ocean. The massive cocaine seizure was the result of multiple interdictions by several crews. The Coast Guard has prevented the cocaine from reaching the streets of the U.S., Central and South America. Former U.S. President George Bush apologizes after sexual assault claims by American television actor Heather Lind. In an Instagram post, Lind accused Bush of sexually assaulting her 4 years ago during a photo op ceremony. She said that the former U.S. president touched her from the behind and told her a dirty joke. Bush's spokesperson, Jim McGrath, has called the incident an attempt at humor and has apologized, stating that Bush would never intentionally cause anyone distress. Soon after being re-elected General Secretary of the Central Committee of the Communist Party of China, Xi Jinping introduced the new CPC central leadership to the press and gave an account of a roadmap for the next 5 years. Xi Jinping thanked all other members of the party for the trust they have placed in the new leadership and vowed to work diligently to meet our duty, fulfill our mission, and be worthy of their trust, as he quoted. U.S. President Donald Trump visited Texas for an update on recovery efforts following Hurricane Harvey. The U.S. president met state officials in Dallas and also attended 2 fundraisers to help hurricane victims. 77 people were killed due to the hurricane. U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations Nikki Haley has told South Sudan's president that the United States has lost trust in the government for fueling the country's civil war. She urged the government to bring peace or risk losing support from Washington. Haley, as the first senior member of the U.S. President Donald Trump administration, was visiting South Sudan, which spiraled into civil war in 2013, just 2 years after gaining independence from Sudan. The mayor of Florida city of Tampa rallied his police officers to bring to justice the suspect behind 3 fatal shootings. He told them to get the head of the killer. Police have warned residents of the central Tampa neighborhood of Seminole Heights not to go out alone after the dark as they search for a possible serial killer who they believe fatally shot 3 people in the nighttime ambushes over the last 2 weeks. U.S. Vice President Mike Pence marked the anniversary of a 1983 truck bomb attack at the Marine compound in Beirut that killed 241 U.S. service members. Pence described it as the beginning of the war on terror. He also grieved the loss of 4 American heroes who were killed in Niger earlier this month. Two Californian skaters have captured the aftermath of deadly wildfires. Before and after videos of the Coffee Park area shows the devastation of the fire that engulfed the areas for days. U.S. President Donald Trump is expected to officially declare the opioid crisis a national emergency this week. Opioid has killed more than 33,000 people in the United States in 2015. According to the White House Commission on the Opioid Crisis led by New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, more than 100 Americans die of drug overdoses every day. The declaration comes more than 2 months after Trump verbally declared it as an emergency to reporters. Though experts are unclear of what Trump's declaration will mean for a complex, long-term public health problem. Brazilian firefighters race against time to battle a wildfire raging in the national park in Brazil's central state of Goiás. The fire started on October 17th and has destroyed more than 50,000 hectares of an area that is known for its biodiversity. Firefighters used planes to help control the flames, while crews on the ground also moved in, using shovels to smother the fire, which they believe was set on purpose. Ukraine plans a 12% increase in healthcare spending next year to raise standards and crack down on corruption in hospitals and surgeries. According to studies, Ukrainians die earlier than most Europeans, and patients often bribe doctors for treatment or for medicine. Costa Rica's first satellite is ready to be tested for flight in space. The satellite will be sent to the Technological Institute of Kyushu in Japan. The purpose of the nano-satellite will be to monitor climate change through the transmission of data on forest growth, environmental variables, and carbon in the tropical forests of Costa Rica. Brazilian lawmakers rejected corruption charges against President Michel Temer, shelving a case that had threatened to oust a center-right leader who investors hope will bring Brazil's budget deficit under control. The corruption case involving the payment of bribes had paralyzed Temer's reform agenda for 6 months and weakened his government. The vote means that Temer is safe from prosecution while he remains president, but he is still subject to investigation and possible trial by lower courts after his term ends in late 2018. Moving on to some national news, Indian Army Chief General Bipin Rawat called for enhanced surveillance at the country's strategic military bases to prevent attacks like those in the northern Uri town and Pathankot city last year. Rawat said that the army kept receiving reports about the likelihood of attacks on security installations. 18 Indian soldiers were killed as terrorists burst into an army base in the border town of Indian Kashmir Uri in September 2016. Indian security forces launched a joint cordon and search operation in the Shopian district of northern Jammu and Kashmir. Security forces increased their footprint in 20 villages of the region to capture or neutralize the hidden militants in the area. Joint operation was launched after several civilians, political workers, and government officials in the region had been targeted during the past 1 week. The ruling BJP party will mark the first anniversary of demonetization on November 8th as Anti-Black Money Day. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley's senior party leaders will fan out across the country to inform the public about the benefits of demonetization as part of the plan to observe November 8th as Anti-Black Money Day. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley slammed the opposition, especially the Congress party opposing to demonetization, and said that it did not take any steps to curb the menace of black money when it was in power. West Bengal's Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee linked her mobile number to Aadhaar card. The Chief Minister has called it an assault on privacy. She said she will not give her Aadhaar details to mobile operators, even if it amounts to getting her mobile service snapped. Gujarat's anti-terrorism squad arrested 2 suspected ISIS terrorists from Surat on Wednesday. The ATS said that both the terrorists were working for the Islamic State and were planning to execute a terror plot in Ahmedabad during the Gujarat elections. The terrorists are identified as Qasim and Obaid, who are residents of Surat, and reports suggest that Qasim was planning to abscond to Jamaica after executing a blast. A 20-year-old woman with none of the 4 limbs in India's central Chhattisgarh state has been appointed as a computer operator at a government office. Born with a rare disorder, tetraamelia syndrome, Khushbu has never been allowed the condition to become a disability and did schooling like any other child, and also further attained a computer course degree. The game in Pune, although, was preceded by controversy as the curator at the MCA Stadium was sacked by the BCCI after accusations of allowing people to tamper with the pitch. A sting operation carried out by an Indian media outlet showed Pandurang Salgonkar agreeing to prepare the pitch according to the demands of 2 reporters posing as bookies. Elsewhere in the world of football, Swiss prosecutors on Wednesday began questioning PSG president Nasser Al-Khelaifi as part of a criminal investigation into World Cup broadcasting deals. Al-Khelaifi is the chief executive of Qatar's BEIRUT Media, who are accused of having bribed FIFA's banned former Secretary General Jerome Valcou for the awarding of media rights for the World Cup. Moving on to entertainment news, rock and roll legend Fats Domino has passed away at the age of 89. The pioneering musician who sang hits like Ain't That a Shame and Blueberry Hill was one of the most popular rock and roll performers of the 1950s and 1960s. Domino made his debut in the rock and roll music world with the single The Fat Man and was one of the first African-American performers to feature on pop music television shows. He has sold over 110 million records in his career span and was also one of the first inductees to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1986. Rock and roll legend Elvis Presley fondly called him the real legend of rock and roll. Fans remembered Fats Domino as a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in Los Angeles on Wednesday. After the news of his death came to light, the legendary died of a natural cause. The 30th edition of the Tokyo International Film Festival kickstarts in Roppongi, Tokyo. Japan's biggest film festival this year has rostered a showcase of over 200 films from around the world, with a short list of 15 entries that will battle for the festival's biggest prize, the Tokyo Grand Prix, judged by a 5-member jury led by Oscar-winning actor Tommy Lee Jones. The festival will run in Tokyo until the 3rd of November.